Our first speaker for the second half is a machinist who spent the WCBN, one of the premier Freeform radio stations in the country. Let's have a big round of applause for Andrew King.
I'd like to say thank you to Juice as well. I'm going to talk about commercial music. I'm not really happy with the direction it's going in. And there's no better antidote for corporate music than a local band, a young local band, because when they're young, they haven't got a lot of people telling them what they got to do. They're doing stuff that's new, they're doing it because they want to, and there's just an energy there that you got to have. So 5 minutes, press the space bar. My name's Andrew. I'm here to talk about music, how you discover it, how it gets to you, and how those aspects shape and define the experience of music. My day job is in engineering, design, prototyping, but I play 3 hours a week on WCBN, which is a student radio program. CBN prides itself on being a freeform station where all different musical genres are juxtaposed. On one of my recent shows, I started with some Tangerine Dream, ended up with the premiere of something called The Fluid Piano, had some King Crimson, some John Cage, some Dr. Lemaitre, some Frank Zappa, all in between. Zappa! Music has been an important part of human culture since prehistoric times. The oldest instrument found to date is a flute that's 35,000 years old. Back then, people didn't buy music, they made it. Music was a verb, you couldn't own it. It only existed as long as the performer played. Music was something you created when you were hanging out with your buds, when there wasn't a game on. Music helped define preferred social groups. Music was a way for the population to express who they were and what their life meant to them. Music called warriors to battle and gave voice to the sorrow of the defeated. Plain chant rose up to the heavens from Gothic cathedrals. Primitive drums summoned demons and deities to the fire. But no matter what, or where, or when the musicians stopped, the music stopped. It was at the moment, swept away in the stream of time. If you were poor, you danced in the fields, playing whatever instrument you had. Perhaps for a few moments you could forget the difficulties and tribulations of your life. If you were middle class, you played music with your family and friends. The study and practice of music was seen as something that improved you. Playing music together was an active experience. Every performer had to learn their part, and then you played as best they could, and it all contributed to the performance as a whole. If you were wealthy, you could hire musicians and have them put up a concerto to show off your flute playing. The patronage system supplied many of our great composers, and they did some wonderful things, but as soon as the last one started away, that was it. After the development of the printing press, music was a little more permanent. Charlie Chaplin was actually supported himself selling sheet music until he was discovered, and he composed a lot of music for his films. The Star Spangled Banner was on sheet music for sale within 2 weeks about Francis Scott Key having written it, but it took a year before it could actually get recorded. People have long dreamed of having a mechanical orchestra, so you could listen to whatever you wanted to. Here, it appeared during the Industrial Revolution as a robot driven by steam, but when the actual automated music players showed up, it looked quite different. Music boxes go back as far as the 9th century, but they weren't really a consumer item until like the 1700s. Recording music became possible in the late 1800s when the reproducing piano came along, and you could play a piano piece and then put it through a player piano. That was on the piano. Edison invented the phonograph, and that was something, the first thing you could actually say any sound, and you could reproduce it and play it whenever you wanted to. Music was an off product. It was something tangible that you could own. Then there were radio stations. The first broadcast station was in the 20s. People could now listen to music without actually having it, and a small group of people got to decide what would be broadcast. By the 40s, radio would become commercialized with predictable results. As broadcast companies grew and merged, the power of program directors increased. Driven by the needs of the popular, they filled their playlists with safe choices that would fill their target demographic. As musical variety dropped, it became impossible to put the whole playlist on a computer. Satellite radio, it offers hundreds of very specifically programmed channels that are available seamlessly from coast to coast. It's a wonderful thing. There are some shows done by DJs and musicians, but most of the channels follow rigid formats, 50s, 60s, 70s. No longer would you find yourself driving down a strange highway exploring the dial to see what the locals are listening to. The internet is not rigidly formatted. You can find any kind of music from all over the world, but there's no help to guide the listener. There are algorithms that make suggestions based on past history, but they are limited by the difficulty trying to understand what you might like. They can find you something similar, but won't deliver something transcendent, something new. With the advent of portable music players, you can now carry thousands of songs with you. Well, this is undoubtedly convenient. It does allow you to retrieve your own music collection. With your earbuds in, you can go days without hearing anything you haven't selected. If you listen to a Lawrence Welk show, you can be sure you won't be followed by Japanese jazz. Or with a Freeform station, it's quite possible, in fact likely. People experiment with playing records backwards, playing multiple records at once, or mixing different sounds together. The question is whether this is a good thing. We've got to the point now where we can listen to music from around the world and carry our entire music collection in our pocket. Does this mean we are losing our taste for exploring new horizons? Does the audience appreciate being surprised, even when it's not always a pleasant surprise? I'm not sure, but I can tell you, if you only listen to music that you like, you're not learning anything. A evolution requires mutation. Music is an adventure.